Hello everyone and welcome to today's morning report on Tuesday the 12th of April with me, Richard Perry, market analyst at Antec Markets. We've got a fairly muted start at the open on the European trading session. Equity markets are slightly lower, between sort of 0.3 and 0.5% lower on FTSE, DAX and CAC, and I'm sort of looking at these markets and I'm thinking that the markets are sort of pretty much, a lot of them are actually coming up to or struggling to really find direction. Certainly Euro, for example, is really struggling to get any real sort of traction in some direction. Also, FTSE 100 is a really interesting chart, struggling up around 6,200, and I'll talk about both of those charts in a bit. And also, if you look on the charts of, say, the sort of treasury yields, starting to sort of flatten off. Certainly have done in the past sort of 2 or 3 days. Started to flatten off. Interesting though that the dollar continues to sort of slide. And that is interesting, I think, because we're still getting this correction, and we've got a couple of Fed speakers today. We've got Kaplan and Harker both speaking today on monetary policy, so that could give a little bit of some stronger direction. But it'll be interesting to see if we can get some movement, because the dollar is, as I said, still correcting, but you've started to now find a little bit of possibly a bit of upswing on the dollar yen after sort of 7 days in a row of Japanese yen strength, which has pulled dollar yen lower. We've started to get a bit of upside rebound now. As to how sustainable that move is remains to be seen. But it'll be interesting to see what happens across these forex markets. Just as I was speaking, actually, the euro is beginning to get a little bit more direction to the upside. So, but I'll focus on that in my chart analysis in a bit. But not a great deal to look forward to today. A bit of UK inflation data at 9:30, and that's likely to give a bit of direction, certainly for cable. Cable has rallied in the last few days, and I'll be interested to see if we get the expectation, which is 0.4% on the year-on-year headline data. So that would be the highest, in fact, since for over a year, since December 2014, and also the core data up to plus 1.3. So that would be sort of starting to get a bit of a turnaround in this inflation data, which might fuel a bit of support there for sterling. Although there is clearly still the concerns for the Brexit vote, the impact that could have. But I'll talk about all these things in my chart appraisal in a bit. Anyway, my chart of the day is the FTSE 100. And FTSE, last sort of 6 weeks or so, has basically been struggling. Look, it's sort of formed a trading range, isn't it? It sort of broke out above this resistance here from late February, and sort of came back to test that as the basis of support. So 6036 is the basis of support, but it cannot get above 6,200 on a sort of sustained basis. Couple time you get a move on an intraday basis above 6,200, it sort of comes lower. I think you've had now 4 closes just within couple of ticks of 6,200. 6204 and then subsequently 6200 yesterday. Again, a couple of closes that are basically failing every time you see that intraday move above 6,200. So, and again, what you see this morning is the market sort of backing off from that level. Now, you've got these momentum indicators, which are difficult to really sort of ascertain exactly what they mean, because they've sort of been unwinding for the last sort of 6 weeks. But are they unwinding to sort of help renew upside potential, or are they unwinding and with a view to losing upside momentum? I think the RSI here, I've got that crosshair in just above, sort of around sort of 40, 46, 47. And I think if you saw the RSI falling below that, I think to a 6-week low, I think that would be your sort of indication that we'd be struggling, because I'm still thinking that this is going to be a range play, and I don't necessarily think at the moment FTSE looks ready to break out. I think it might need a bit of news flow, because that resistance has become so significant that I think you could need some news flow to see a breakout to the upside. Because you look at these momentum indicators, they've pretty much all lost the upside impetus. Now those stochastics rising are have come with the last sort of 3 or 4 days where we've picked up again, but towards the range highs. But again, it'll be interesting to see if that starts to roll over, because at the moment we've got today's move that's coming off the top. And you see here on the hourly chart, you've got all these momentum indicators, which are very much neutrally configured. The RSI continues to sort of fail under 70 in the mid-60s, sort of find supporter in the mid-30s. Those MACD lines and the stochastics on the hourly chart rolling over. The MACD lines especially are the concern, I think, for the near-term outlook. Crossing lower, stochastics falling away as well. So that would suggest that we're starting to engage once more in a correction. So you'd go for the supports where you'd say initially 61.65, which was yesterday's spike low at the open, and then subsequently to that you got 61.16, I think it is, no, 61.19 as the two sort of initial support levels. But again, it just looks like it's sort of retracing within that range, doesn't it? Really doesn't look as though it's going to break out again, and it's sort of rolling over. So once more, it could be that we're sort of pulling back towards sort of, or at least the midpoint of the range, and maybe even back towards the lows again. That the lows of that range, as I said, 60.36. There's 60.60 is also a support. So yeah, it just seems though FTSE is still range bound and unable to really break the shackles of this recent consolidation. So the range continues. So I wish you good luck in your trading today, and I will speak to you later. Thank you.